Well, happy Friday, everybody. I'm Nick Slavic. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades as a craftsperson and entrepreneur to answer any questions. Very special show today. We are on one of my mid-century modern sort of job sites here. We got a couple crews working here. We'll walk you around in a little bit. And then we have the PCA, the Paint Contractors Association of America, the contractor question of the week. Interesting year this year. So 2020 is going to be the year of mastering the basics in my business, which is 2019, we've proven what's worked. Now we're going to do more of it. And I'm going to use the same sort of platform with Ask a Painter to hammer home the basics. And I honestly think the 2 things that every paint contractor in the United States or the world could do better to instantly make their life better and their client's life better is to, number 1, job cost, and number 2, benchmark based on industry benchmarks to see if they're actually making money or not. So we're going to start off the show, which will probably start off almost every show, with hammering the basics. We do this in my business. We are not going for museum level restoration most of the time. That's an aspirational goal for all of us, but what we're going to do in 2020 is master the basics. So what should a paint company do? Here's what we do. So you have one painter. One painter should work about 2,000 hours in a year, give or take. We would like them to produce about $55 of revenue an hour. That would equal $110,000 of revenue per year. We're just going to use a 10-person painting company as a benchmark here. So, Dustin, how's it going? Michael Crane. If we have that, if we have one painter producing $110,000 a year, if we have 10, we should do $1.1 million. So, let's say you can do this. This is good. A lot of painting companies that I run into when we look over financials don't do this. This is a good goal. It's an industry benchmark. So now, the biggest question always is how much material and how much labor. The industry benchmark is 15% material and 40% labor. So when we take that into our total there, we get 145K, and so on average, to benchmark your business, this is what we should do. 145K for 15% materials like that. You should pay out about $440,000 in wages, give or take, like that. Now, something that I do in my company, because I have a production manager, is I add in field management, and I use about 5% for that. So field management is production manager, project manager, whatever your company calls it. It's not, some people allocate it towards overhead. I do a direct cost because it is directly allocated to every job, just like material and labor, but you can't really pinpoint necessarily which job, so we just do a blanket, whatever that person's salary is or whatever we allocate towards that. That's what we put towards that. So that's gonna be 55K. So to know if your business is doing good, this is basically what you do. The number, when you add up all this stuff, is gross profit. And a good industry benchmark and an industry that, or a standard that we use in my business is 40%. So basically after that, there should be money. So this is just, there's 2 kinds of expenses. There's expenses that you incur with the job, and those are called variable. You only incur them if you get a job. Paint, per se. You don't buy a bunch of paint if you don't have a job. And then there's fixed costs, which is overhead. So if you have a shop, the owner's salary, vehicles, you're going to pay for those whether you have work or not. So this is all variable. This is all fixed. Now here's where it gets a little different down here. For the different sizes of business, you're going to find different things going on here. So what I do is basically say, if you've got 40% gross profit, this tells you if you're doing good industry benchmark, industry standard work. That basically leaves you with this equals about 60, so you got about 40% to work with here. I like to do, so that would be So I just generally say overhead as 220K. Now, if you have a subcontracting business, that's going to be different. For my business, we basically say, for vehicles, for some marketing, for sales, for all this and that, if you're a good business owner, you got to watch that 220K number and try to keep that in line there. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky, and I'm a believer in when we talk about net profit. Net profit is this. I shoot for a 20 on this down below here. Now, this is fishy because guys will tell you I have a 35, I have a 10, I have a 5. The only way to benchmark this perfectly, and so that we're all on the same page, is that whatever you pay yourself as an owner, it's put here. So what net profit is you take all this, whatever's left over at the end of the year, that's not technically net profit. You have to pay yourself something here, because if you were not here, you would have to pay somebody else in order to do your work. So you pay yourself a salary. Most owners for a business this size go somewhere between $60,000 and $100,000, and that has to come out of here. So when you see guys with net profits, if I make 30, I make 35% net profit, they're probably not taking their own owner's salary out of that. So you always want to make sure when somebody says a net profit number, you want to start here and start working through what their numbers are, and then finally in the overhead, you want to make sure that the owner's salary is in there too. And now you're on par. So technically, what somebody should be compensated for owning a painting company of this size, if you do everything right, everything works out well, is you pay yourself an owner's salary, and this should be your reward for all the risk you've taken this year. So going forward in 2020, this is the year of mastering the basics. This is the thing that we're going to hammer over and over and over. Now, this is a large scale. The PCA contractor question of the week is, how do you financially plan for 2020? This is what I do. It starts on a micro level with job costing. Job costing is basically this, but just for one project. This is budgeting, technically. Where you always hear, well, what's a budget for? What do you do this? Technically, this is your budget for the year. Now, it gets micro down here when you start breaking up marketing versus vehicles versus shop versus things like that. But this is a budget. And when you want to benchmark yourself going through the year, either weekly or monthly, I do weekly and monthly and quarterly. But however you do, if you look at your monthly expenses, the easiest thing to do to make sure you're on track is add up all your paint bills, add up all your payroll, and it should be somewhere around here for a business of this size. So that's a good benchmark for you like that. On a micro level, so when the PCA contractor question of the week is, how do you financially plan for 2020? This is how you do it. This is how you set your benchmarks. And basically off of this, you can go 100 different ways. You can say, if we're going to do $1.1 million in revenue, how many jobs does that have to be? Well, you start breaking it down. So as sales, we close half the jobs. The average job size is $5,000. You can extrapolate how many estimates you're going to have to do, and if you track your marketing very well too, you know how many leads you can get per market or per dollar spent in marketing, and you adjust your marketing spend. More granular. But if every painter knew this and followed this and benchmarked their business off it, everybody in the United States would be better. They'd have happy clients, and they'd have more well-paid painters. Now, for an actual job, let's say we have a $100 paint job here. So if you do this on a micro level, this may be a little too much budget, high level stuff. On a micro level, this is what we do. Let's say you have $100 in revenue for your painting business. Technically, you should be paying out either to yourself or your painters $40 in wages and about $15 in paint. So, you add all that stuff together. If you have field management or not, you can add that in there. So for me, it'd be $5. And then technically, we should have $40 of gross profit off of that job. Then you have to pay for your shop, your vehicle, your marketing, all that other stuff. Hopefully we can keep that to $20, including your own salary, your own wages for that day if you're your own painter. So net profit. Gross profit is what you get before you take out overhead. Net profit is what you get when all your bills are paid, and that's all the stuff that's left over. So for a business owner, not only should you be paying yourself a wage in here, you should also be giving yourself a profit, because you're taking a lot of risks to do this. So this is going to be the year 2020 of mastering the basics, and you guys are going to get a lot of this year. So I sincerely believe from the bottom of my heart the best thing we can do to instantly raise the standard is to start with this, figure out every job how we did, and then extrapolate it out to a larger year. 13 years ago, when I was a single person painting company, at the end of every job, I would get done, I painted the outside of a house, I cleaned up, I loaded the truck, I took my paper estimate, I flipped that thing over, and I took revenue minus the paint, and then I used my hours. Since I didn't pay myself a wage, I was just a single person company, I just divided up by how many hours I was on there. So another way to do this, $100. Let's say you're a single person painting company. This is what I did to gauge the job every time. So we had $100 in revenue. I took out the paint, 15 bucks, give or take. And then you say, let's say it took me 1 hour. You can get a labor rate going for yourself or for any of your painters. We do this for each one of my painters too, where you take that out and whatever you have left over, $85, you divide it by how many hours you put on the job, 1 hour, you just created $85 of revenue an hour. And if the industry average is 55, you know that job was a little above average. Two things occur, or two decision points on that. Number one, maybe you overperform. You're so good, you know the craft, you're a hustler, you get it done quicker. Maybe two, maybe you were able to sell the job for a lot more money than what the industry benchmark is. So this does not tell you necessarily what exactly to do. It's sort of a pulse. It's kind of, the test to see which way the wind is blowing. Was it a good job or a bad job? Likewise, if this took you 4 hours and you did $22 of revenue an hour, you would say, oh man, I didn't price this project right or I underperformed. So this single-handedly, job costing on a micro level for every job, extrapolating that out to an entire year, that's the single most important thing that every one of us can do. When I talk to paint contractors across the country, you'd be surprised how many people have businesses much bigger than mine that have never done this before. They're basically cowboying it by the seat of their pants. So please everyone, get the word out. This is it. This is not perfect. This does not tell you exactly what to do, but this will guide your way and tell you if you're doing good or bad on a given year. So let's go through, see if we've got any questions here. So thank you everybody for watching here. Evan, thanks for watching from Texas. Alex St. Germain, one of my guys. Heather from the PCA, thanks for watching. Oh, sorry about the acoustics. We're here on a big job site. It's kind of echoey. Gustavo, how much of that money do you spend on marketing? I've always used an industry average of 3.5% for marketing. So if you're doing a $1.1 million business, or let's say you're doing $1 million business, 3.5% would be $35,000 a year, give or take. Now, that's a benchmark. People can go higher for different markets. People can also go lower. I've seen guys where they don't do any marketing. It's all word of mouth. Very, very different in there, but I've always heard 3.5%. George, I'm sorry. I think my help is overpaid. They're not producing fast enough. Well, a lot of things go into that. If things aren't producing fast enough, I always first take it upon myself as an owner saying, do they know what's expected of them? Is there a clear deliverable? Is their job description aligned with what I'm asking? Have they been trained enough? Are they being held accountable? So we do insane amount of accountability every day, which is we set a daily goal, a weekly goal, a monthly goal, and we check in a couple times a day. And it takes a lot of effort, but that's the biggest way to get people up. Now, after that, George, if they don't produce, you may not have the right people and the right seats on the bus. All right, Nick, thank you so much for this one. Some great info. This should really help my out during the, oh man, your house is looking good. Oh, thanks, man. We're getting the floor poured hopefully within the next 2 weeks. That'll be a fun one. So get the word out about this, guys. This is simple, but I didn't realize that this was sort of a benchmark until a couple of years ago. It greatly helped me. So I have a new format for my business. Oh yeah, George, let me know how that goes, man. Hi. Nick, does the industry average 55-hour include paint as well? So yes and no. I use it as with paint, just standard revenue generation, and then we take the paint out of there. So if you take that out of there, you'd probably be at 95,000, give or take a year, give or take minus a percentage point. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to take you on a quick walk around here on this job site, and then we're going to call it a week because I'm in the way of my craftspeople. You can see them hard at work over there. Lunchtime jaw jacking in the kitchen. Oh, these guys are doing amazing work here. Oh, he's walking around now. There we go. This is Brandon's job. He's kind of running this one with the help of Joe. These guys are doing some awesome work here. So you can see this is a really cool job where we're doing the same color, same finish, same paint, walls, ceilings, trim, everything. It's a very, very sort of tricky. You would think it'd be simpler. It's actually a little trickier than normal to get everything uniform, everything good on all surfaces, three-dimensional all at once. It's a fun challenge. So this is the bathroom here. We got the tile guy. Oh, it's beautiful. Cabinets, countertops. This builder, Tony Vadine is the name. He runs Straight Modern. He does some super progressive stuff with houses, and we started teaming up with him this last year, and it's been a lot of fun because he does a lot of cool projects like this. I'll see if I can show you. There's a super cool kind of modernist house. That's his kind of style that he's into. He does a bunch of these a year, and we love this stuff. We love working on unique projects. Another cool thing is he runs an outfit. He has a general contractor that works for him. They partnered up on this stuff, and it's the closest thing to this old house you've ever seen. All the guys on the job site are the best dudes ever. They take great care of their tools. They do really cool sort of progressive counters. These things need skids and stuff. You can see big walk-in shower right here we got bagged off. It's the closest thing to this old house I've ever seen, and I'm glad that they trust us with this stuff. So let's see what we got here. What avenues of marketing do you spend money on? Which have you found the most ROI? So, as you would expect, I've done lots of experiments, and last year it was a conclusion that I didn't want to happen, but it did, and direct mail. So this can take the form of postcards, flyers, whatever, but I basically have postcards printed. We pick neighborhoods, we send them to those neighborhoods, and I get the highest ROI on that. And honestly, that's been a game changer for me. This winter has been as busy as every May here in Minnesota because of that, and kind of is what it is. So, and on average, you might spend anywhere between 30 cents a piece to 40 cents a piece. So extrapolate that out over 25,000 to 50,000, and that's basically your marketing budget. So let's take a look over here. Bedrooms. Yep, looks good. Well, I'll take you back down here and we'll call it a week here, guys. All right, kitchen back through here. So everything's primed. They're getting the last bit of prep here. Unique thing about this job is we're basically going stem to stern, spraying everything here. One color, one finish, one paint. So everything's getting prepped. We're priming all the woodwork, caulking, patching nail holes, SVTing, sanding the walls, light checking everything, getting ready to go. You can see a beautiful accent wall with panel mold in here. These guys are sealing up a door here. We got some awesome bonderized metal here that we're going to end up enameling. Exposed beam that we bagged off here, which is pretty cool. You can see these guys just putting the last finishing touches on the kitchen, and then we're going to get spraying. So, all right, everybody, have a great weekend. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.